Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Dota Talk presentation of the SteelSeries Southeast Asian Cup. This is the third season of it, and in this iteration we get to get an awesome matchup here. MiTH-Trust versus First Departure. These two teams going into a best-of-3 series to see who is top dog here. We are already starting off the draft, so I'll get right into it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether it's 10 a.m., 10 p.m., or somewhere in between. We're expecting some awesome Dota one way or another, and I'm glad that you could join me for it. So, starting things off, of course, we have on the Radiant side, First Departure. Very, very solid team that has showed a lot of promise in the Eastern qualifiers previously, and they are a team that is actually fully from Singapore, so that's cool. Home server advantage or something, I don't know. But nevertheless, MiTH-Trust have shown so much strength in the past. I mean, I cast them yesterday and they look so darn good, but as a whole, they still have a couple of things to iron out in their strategy before they're ready to consistently take games off of top-tier teams. So we'll see. But for right now, both have been developing substantially, a little bit as far as roster shift, but really not as much as other lineups here, so we'll see. But to start things off, the bans, we do see the Naga Siren taken off the board, as well as the Bat Rider, classic first ban material from the previous meta of 6.78. Meanwhile, First Departure takes out the Lich, which is much more active in this current one, the 6.79. Along with that, the OD ban comes out from First Departure. I don't like that as much because they have the first pick, and I feel like OD is stronger if you pick it as your second in the first phase, because you can ban out counters like Razor and things along those lines. But still, if you don't want to deal with it, if you don't have to pick up a Razor, and that's not the kind of lineup that you want to play, then might as well open the pool up a little bit here. So, starting things off, we're actually starting off with bonus time being burnt into. We have seen in the Western scene, in this situation, we see an Elder Titan or a Night Stalker pickup or something like that. But right here, they're still contemplative. They have plenty of different options, pretty much a whole field open to them. We have seen some cool plays from Miracle, Crystal Maiden with Midas, maybe something like that. But to start off, their initiating support is going to be the Shadow Demon. Very great for positioning control, but kind of awkward for a first pick. I see him as a viable hero that can be very, very effective in a lot of circumstances. I don't see him as first pick material. I think that he should be given a mention much more often in the third and fourth selection slots. But as far as a first pick, it's a little bit unorthodox. So we'll see what MiTH-Trust has up their sleeve to deal with that directly, and how the rosters start building up their strategies for this game here. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. I am Blaze, if you haven't already heard of me, and happy to be able to bring you guys this cast, if only solo. I do intend to bring in some more co-casters and stuff in the near future, but only just got this channel up and running. So for right now, happy to be able to bring you guys this best-of-3 series, as well as a pretty good one previously between Titan and... Wow, I don't know why I'm blanking on that, because I just cast the heck out of it, but it was... I feel terrible now.
Radiant team pick.
I'll come back to that one. I don't know why it's like in the back of my mind. Yeah, that's what it was. It was Joe Net, or Joe Elite Team. They did really well in that series, so I don't know why I'm completely blanking on that. But either way, a nice little match there. Best of 3 series. I'll have that up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Blazecasting in the near future. But for right now, this draft is breaking down a little bit here. We have the Visage and Timbersaw, both very great first pick material heroes, just giving huge trial lane potential for the Visage, or even dual lanes. As long as the damage is there, the soul assumption is going to be prevalent. And what a damage dealer to bring to the board. Timbersaw, all about those nukes. Pure damage, mobility. This guy has a little bit of everything, and he is a bundle of fun to watch as well. Besides his general superiority in selection right now, I would say one of the bigger reasons why he's picked up here is because he's one of the few heroes that can get out of a basic Shadow Demon combo. If you get disrupted, you will be able to Timber Chain out. I mean, he still can be played in the mid instead of the off lane, but if he does go off lane, he has some security, unless you're looking at a combo of follow-up stun that's extremely well-timed, like a Lina or a Leshrac stun that happens as soon as a disruption ends. In that case, you're kind of out of luck. The Timber Chain will be canceled, but it's all about the draft from there. So, start things off, we do see Lifestealer will be weighing in on this one. And now with the Shadow Demon off the board and 2 bans at their disposal, First Departure can make it so that Lifestealer will be mobile in these fights, which is something you can't always say. But with no Naga, no Bat, no Shadow Demon to worry about, there's only a couple of bans that you have to take on out. So it's actually a really smart draft to make sure that they can keep their Lifestealer up and running. And on top of that, he doesn't really care whatsoever about Visage or Timbersaw's abilities, every single one of them being negated by Magic Immunity. So pretty good pickup in this situation as a whole. He's still a great hero, but in this selection, he is just going to dominate the draft 100%. So Crystal Maiden comes out for that ban that goes with the Visage, and Abaddon makes a lot of sense as well. So neither one of those is anti-Nakes particularly, but they are very, very good for aggressive tri-lanes. So not something First Departure wants to deal with. They take him off the board. And meanwhile, MiTH-Trust is banning out the Anti-Mage. So Lakel's Anti-Mage not going to be available, and I'm not exactly sure why they're putting such emphasis on banning out core carry heroes. Either they know something that I don't about how frequently First Departure goes for a hard dual or tri-core strategy, or there's just something else up their sleeve. They just really want to ban out the carries. Mirana and Anti-Mage. Mobile, good for split pushing, and in general, powerful mid to late game carries. So, yeah. Interesting bans. I'm not exactly sure if that's the route that I would have taken, but taking them off the board, that means that you can't maybe have like an aggro try and then a safe lane solo anti-mage and things like that. Also, we have seen Lakel's personally run anti-mage in the mid, and he can go up against like a Magnus or a Pudge and drain all his mana with mana break so that there's not too many issues there. So if they did want to run like a dual mid with a Lifestealer or with an anti-mage, that's not an option either. Either way, they pick up their core hero of the Weaver. A lot of potential here. Maybe not as much in the late game since the nerf to 1.9 base attack time, but that kind of nerf isn't going to impact that hero as much because of how highly he's based on auto attack damage rather than attack speed. Anyways, Rubik will be the final selection here. A lot of great steals. It's pretty much a given. You see the Soul Assumption, you get the option of the Chakram, the Shikuchi, all of these very, very powerful spells that are spammed frequently. So it's very likely that even if Rubik doesn't get like the gigantic reverse polarity black hole steals, he'll get some casual steals that'll do a lot of work while filling the role that they're looking for, which is early supportive pickups. We also have seen like Dendi attempt to do Rubik mid and things like that in the Western scene, so maybe that's something that First Departure have intentions for, maybe looking for an Aghanim Scepter Rubik, which could be a lot of fun as well. So, right now, I'm kind of surprised of one thing specifically. MiTH-Trust hasn't picked up Razor to counter out the Lifestealer, and I'm not sure if that's because they're worried too much about the disruption and purge from Shadow Demon to negate the movement speed advantage of Razor, and therefore he couldn't keep the link rolling, or what that is about specifically. But generally speaking, the most common pickups against Lifestealer are heroes like Weaver, Razor, and then Magic Immunity Piercing Disables, because Weaver and Razor do all the damage you could possibly need. But instead they go for a very unorthodox physical disabler, and that's the Spirit Breaker. Spirit Breaker, Barathrum, whatever you want to call him, he actually, in my opinion, got the hardest nerf in 6.79. Reducing his base attack time is much more substantial than that of Weaver's reduction, because this guy, he's all about bashing, he's all about getting that attack speed, and by making his Nether Strike interruptible, by reducing how many attacks he's going to get no matter how much attack speed he buys, it's going to be really, really limiting. It's not like Weaver relies on MKB procs to really do his damage. He does his damage one way or another, but Spirit Breaker, it's brutal. Anyways, First Departure kind of just playing around with Magic a little bit. Rubik and Invoker, the Grand and Arsenal Mages side by side here, is going to be a lot of fun to see. I'm not exactly sure the main intention other than cold snapping the Spirit Breaker. I guess you can also Sunstrike and charge because of the fact that he's pretty linear about his movements there. So maybe something like that. But I'm expecting maybe like a Quaz Wex Invoker, burn Timbersaw's mana, Cold Snap, Spirit Breaker. You'll be in a good position there. So I like that pickup, but he has to survive. That's the big thing. Maybe get a Midas, maybe just get a good handful of levels without being taken down by the ganks from charging, Spirit Breakers, and roaming supports, so on and so forth. So that's a pretty big deal. I think the fundamental thing that they're lacking right now is just a hard AoE stun. Like, they have the Tornado that'll set up one, but they still need something more. So I'm not exactly sure where they want to go for that, because they still need like a solo here, like an offlaner most likely, but they could go for something like a Magnus as a nice little classic there. So we'll see. Final pick will come out within the next 40 seconds or so. And we're going to try to, as far as what they need for their lineup, they already got a very well-rounded team. They've got damage output, they've got some disable, they've got some late-game carry. I would love to see like a jungling support. I would love to see something like you could support, like, I know Way Too Sexy used to run a lot of supportive Nature's Prophet, and that was really popular for quite some time. And along with that, you could run something like a Chen or Enchantress, get some push momentum. Not necessarily big synergies, because obviously the rest of the team isn't inclined towards push, but just like a Hand of God would do so much for the team if you can micro it. But they go a completely different route. It makes it kind of convoluted as far as how they're going to lane it, but now they have the Dragon Knight on the board. So the three cores here are definitely going to be the Dragon Knight, the Weaver, and the Timbersaw, meaning Spirit Breakers and Visage are going to be running in supportive roles. Whether Visage buys all the wards or not, we'll have to see, but for right now, they're going to try to get farm on DK, Weaver, and Timber. And even if Weaver just gets so amounts of farm, it's okay, because he still adds a lot to the fray with his different abilities, so that's not a big deal. Anyways, I'm not exactly sure why DK was their hero of choice, other than the fact that he has a lot of durability, because of the fact that he isn't going to be taking that much physical damage. Lifestealer is the only physical damage dealer, and Forge Spirit and Right Click. So I really think that the DK is all about the stun and the potentially slowing effect of the Frost Breath later on, and really not so much about the survivability of the Dragon Armor. Because again, unless it's a rushing 4 and Qualis, 4 and Exhort, you're really not going to worry too much about those Forge Spirits until much later. Either way, Abba's going to pick up that Dragon Knight. I have seen him play it a couple times around, and he has done admirably with it, so we'll see how it plays out. But the bottom line is they needed disables. They got some disables. Now they hopefully will be able to fight together as a team. But Miracle Venomancer, I'm actually kind of afraid for MiTH-Trust in putting Venomancer in Miracle's hands. Venomancer has had some substantial buffs in the recent things. I'm actually going to change my overlay real quick, just 1 second. That's good. And yeah, so the Venomancer has had a nice little buff or so. His Venomous scale isn't as good at level 1, but it scales a lot better as you rank it. His Poison Sting is more appropriate because not only does it do a very long and very thorough damage over time effect, but it also applies to the Plague Ward's attacks in a non-stacking fashion. So a lot of damage potential. And of course, if we go see Miracle Midas Dota, then we do, of course, get to see opportunities where he moves in towards higher ranks of Poison Nova very quickly, and that could be pretty cool. But let's look over at the rosters real quick before we divulge into those little small things on the side. We, of course, have Lubby on the Rubik here towards the top lane for the moment, warding up for Hannah, who is the Lifestealer, currently located about the mid, though I don't think he'll be positioning there, as we do have the Invoker set up to block. Then we have currently Kai, who I personally am not familiar with as far as the previous First Departure roster, so I'm not sure if he's renamed himself or if he's new, but either way, still a good, formidable player, I'm sure, currently on the Shadow Demon. And then, of course, we do have Miracle down, currently solo bottom, but I don't think they'll leave it that way. I think they'll make a bit of a rotation. I have seen teams like DK, before their roster shift, they ran the lifesteal in the off lane. In this case, I think it's going to be more oriented towards dual lanes. So Shadow Demon, Lifestealer, and then Rubik, Venomancer. But they are going to be up against a pretty painful tri-lane from MiTH-Trust. Speaking of MiTH-Trust, going over the roster while I still have the opportunity, we do have Lakel's carrying it up on the Weaver. SD is going to be running the Visage. That leaves TNK on the Spirit Breaker starting off with charge. Then we, of course, have Abba on this Dragon Knight, just trying to get his bottle through a little bit of Flame Breath CS. On top of that, up on the top lane, Ryga is going to be laning pretty effectively on against the Timber Saw. Shouldn't be at risk much at all once Timber Chain is picked up. So, really the lanes to look at. We have a lot of pressure down bottom. Visage roaming towards the mid. Oh, charge already! Quick little pause coming out. MiTH-Trust trying to figure things out. But yeah, this is an Invoker. He only has Quas picked up, so he has some bonus strength and bonus HP regen. But in this position here, if he's not, I would say, like behind this little line here, he's probably going to be completely obliterated because SD has great follow-up damage with the Soul Assumption, and of course DK will be level 2 with that stun. So they're going to go for it. Nope, cancel it out. Again, just running back behind that line. Kind of a safe zone for him. Under that tower just gets too risky. Anyways, going for some good ward control. Observers to block off one camp, and then of course the Sentry Ward. Now we do see a Rubik Telekinesis, but only going to bring Lakels down to about half HP.
Better not.
So we're going to see some Quaswex Invoker from Mitterfeed. I'm sure that's not his traditional name. Looking over at their rosters, that I'm narrowing it down to either Scripted or Pulson. Pulson did previously play their number 2, but again, I haven't been following this team well enough to know if their roster has shifted. But I'll call him Mitterfeed. I'm assuming it's Pulson, but I don't want to be wrong about that every time I say his name. So we'll call him Invoker, we'll call him Mitterfeed. Either way, right now some pressure coming from Kai, and nice disruption to start things off. We do have a Cold Snap available, but he's just barely in range. There is Soul Catcher, there's enough damage, and that is going to be the first blood for Invoker. So that's actually a really, really good momentum increaser for him because he will be able to move in towards a MiTH. I think this is the one here that really does need MiTH for that early experience advantage. So I'm happy to see him get that early gold to really make use of the fact that this hero scales on experience until level 25. Every single one helps out those spells, and that's very, very important for him. Beyond that, continuous back and forth between the Tri versus Duel. Right now, Miracle trying to do what he can. As far as CS goes, it looks like he's the one taking it. Yeah, 7-1. He's the farm prioritized hero down on the bot lane. And Rubik's just here to enjoy the scenery and help him out if he gets into trouble. So it's not very easy to last hit with a Quaswex Invoker, but still managing 12-3 right now as the Dragon Eye is only sitting at 11-5. Focusing on denies to, again, reduce the experience reliance of Invoker. But here we go, Soul Assumption, Miracle, one last right click. That's going to be enough, and it's as simple as charging that slow Venom. His base movement speed is not that great, sitting at 290. So quick charge at a base movement speed of 600. It's hard to telekinesis in time if he's close enough, so Love be doing the best he can, I'm sure, but unfortunately, Miracle does fall. Kai making a rotation back towards mid lane. Regen room to be covered by Visage here. And another charge coming across. This is actually going to be really nice if they can connect it on Invoker. As far as Radiant Vision, they have no idea, but it looks like TNK doesn't want to follow through. Nobody else to really reinforce it. Nobody can get to the lane that he's charging fast enough to actually make that worthwhile. So things are broken down very quietly. Hannah farming away on the Lifestealer, 23-7 right now. And Invoker is only 180 gold off of that MiTH. Good position for him to be in for now. Lakels is getting a lot of farm, but I'm curious to see what he does with it. Is he going to go for like a Phase Boots Desolator build-up? Is he going to go for Treads? Right now, you got your answer, guys. It's frickin' MiTH. This MiTH Dota, I actually tweeted that out before this started because I had a feeling that's what it was going to break down to. I'm not sure why. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, why it's a good thing and why it's happening. But it's mostly just because they can get away with it. If you can buy a MiTH and don't feel the losses of it early, then very, very quickly it pays for itself in so many different ways. It gives an okay stat bonus, but more importantly, it gives you free reliable gold in the future and a huge experience boost, which is very important for heroes like Invoker. Now getting charged, TNK right on top of Shadow Demon, has himself Disruption, does not use it, tries to use it on the Spirit Breaker and is just too late. Now the Flame Breath and the Soul Assumption finishes him off, but SD in a bad spot will be right-click down. Nice Cold Snap Telekinesis lift to finish him off. Gale on cooldown though, so they cannot pursue onto Abba.
Radiant's bottom tower is
So in the end, 2 for 2. Well, actually, no, sorry. There was a First Blood on the other lane, so that means that actually First Departure came out pretty well ahead there. Let's see. It was a Visage kill, Ruby kill. I'm missing one kill somewhere. I'm not too sure where. Guess it's not the biggest deal in the world. No, there's a gank on mid for the Dragon Knight kill, and I'm just blanking on it for some reason. Anywho, so that is 1 for 1 trade, 2 for 2 in total on the scoreboard. And now things seem to be going pretty well for First Departure. Getting some kills on Invoker, getting some early experience. You know, he's sitting at level 7, and that Tornado is going to get very menacing very quickly. Soon he'll be up high enough in Wex. Actually, starting off with a Disruption, they're going to go Soul Assumption will hit a creep, but still the Cold Snap is on top of Abba, who's just trying to do some damage to Kai. Big charge going out, hits on 4 heroes in total. Invoker gets bashed, Soul Assumption to bring him down. Double kill for SD. What a charge! TNK, greater bashing through 4 people. Oh my goodness. They tried to break down Cold Snap, but the gank was on them. Turned around hard. 3 versus 4, they take 2. They lose nothing. Wow. Wow. Back to the bottom lane, trying to farm things up, but Lakel's is way ahead of them in that department. 47 CS, 1 Midas charge used. He is already rolling towards that 4th point in Shikuchi, and yeah, he is going to get menacing pretty quickly. Any item he builds up, as long as it gives him some damage or some survivability, he'll be a pretty happy camper. Timbersaw rotating out, Lakel's rotating in. Going to try to do some direct pressure on Hannah, who's just moving out to pick off a Hellbear with the Midas. Bringing him up to level 8, which is a 2-level advantage over Lakel's, seeing as he's had a lot of support for quite some time. Charge going on the mid lane. I'm not sure that they can follow through with this. The Tornado is an instantaneous cast point, or just darn near very, very close to it, to the point that I don't think that they can actually follow through with the Spirit Breaks successfully. They'll get tornadoed, the TP scrolls will come in, it will get very, very ugly very quickly. In the meantime, on top lane, the carries are duking it back and forth. We do see an Infest used to sustain the Lifestealer, as he takes a lot of harassment from Hannah, who still has the time lapse, but not really the mana to support it. Probably looking for his boots, tier 1 or tier 2 in the near future. We'll see what he decides to pick up. Okay, we do see Elder Dragon form popped off on the bottom lane. He has some illusions working for him with that illusion rune, so it's actually pretty good timing. You get the dot on the tower, you get to push, and you try to get a kill. Lobby almost gets Dragon Tailed, but barely able to get the TP scroll away. So yeah, good timing to use an illusion rune is when you can make sure that they're applying all the benefits that a dragon should, and so they're going to continuously put pressure down on bottom. Meanwhile, the gank to mid. Charge is currently on the Shadow Demon. Easy target for them right now, and yes, he connects. Here is a good EMP Tornado, gonna fall down, and yes, they're gonna both get burned. All full mana pool for Invoker, goes for the Cold Snap, has his Ghost Walk just to slow his opposition down. Look at this. Just right clicks are easy pickings for these guys, but it looks like they're not willing to follow through right now. They just wanted to pick up the Visage and kind of let everything else lie. Timbersaw, the DK, they're pretty friggin' tanky. So, Midderfield's Ghost Walk shenanigans amount to, unfortunately, nothing in the end. But still, they get the kills they're looking for to turn around a very powerful gank with a great EMP Tornado, and that's the utility of the Invoker. More Sentry Wards in place. A couple of Invis heroes on the board. The Shikuchi, the Ghost Walk. Things to take into consideration, but TNK is going deep. Lubby doesn't get the TK off and will be killed as a result of this. A little bit of damage coming forth to Abba, but not enough to stop him from continuously pushing. Push, push, push. This tier 1 tower is going to drop fast. And it looks like Abba will be able to take the Rune Invis top. Maybe netting a gank on the Lifestealer here. If he goes Invis, Dragon Tail, just essentially handing him a free Shadow Blade for just a moment, is going to allow him to get a free kill on Lifestealer at this current position. Surprisingly, though, he hasn't opted for it, doesn't have a TP, and he isn't rotating. This might go to waste. That's unfortunate. That really is, because one Dragon Tail, a few right clicks, and that's an easy kill. But maybe he thinks the Infest is available, or the TP support will be too soon. Either way, their focus now down towards bottom. Miracles carry Venomancer. And that's right, Hand of MiTH up and available for him. But will it scout out the forthcoming gank in time? He sees the smoke of 2. The charge comes out, and there is no getting out of this one. Charge will connect. Dragon Tail with it, and that, or just Flame Breath and a right click. That is going to be the kill very, very easily. But in the meantime, Lifestealer will keep farming. Looking for a jungle creep, looking for something to MiTH. That's one of the issues with having the MiTH is on multiple heroes is you're going to find weaker and weaker jungle creeps to use it on. And I actually, yeah, it's not really going to give him that much experience as a result. Same gold though, same gold.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
We were putting pressure on the top lane. Miracle going to put a stop to that using the Plague Wards. Great for push and counter push with that piercing 1.5x damage coefficient. But now going to get roamed upon most likely. I mean, this Spear Breaker, he's all about the charges. He's all about the kills. And that's just showing MiTH-Trust mentality in general. They want Lakels to farm and everybody else to brawl. And that's why they have this level advantage as it is. Or, sorry, kill advantage. But let's check out that experience as we're talking about it. They do have a little bit of experience ahead, just 500, but we see the gold is already well in their favor towards 2,500. And this is with only one MiTH. So later, First Departure will be able to bounce back, but for right now, they're committing a lot to their late game. They're investing a lot of their early gold towards an item that won't do much for them now, but later on will pay off very, very quickly. So MiTH Dota, as I was saying, MiTH on Lifestealer, MiTH on the Venomancer, and of course the MiTH on the Invoker, which again, in my opinion, is the only one that's fully warranted, but the Lifestealer isn't too shabby either. And then Miracle is Miracle. You know, can't stop this guy. He wants gold, he wants the experience, he's going to get it. And we'll see that come into play in the near future. Again, Poison Nova rank 1 now, rank 2 very, very shortly.
Stop it.
Armlet the next target of choice for Lifestealer, but let's look over at the Weaver's build, looking for the Perseverance towards a Lincoln Sphere. Going to be able to pick that up at, yeah, I would say, honestly, around the 16-minute mark, which is amazing considering he picked up a MiTH, a Boots, and a Basilius on top of that. Now we hear a charge coming out. It is targeting the Invoker, but cancels very early because, really, that's not a very easy target. I'm not sure if he didn't get trapped in trees. I really don't know what he did to warrant that charge, but one way or another, it's not happening. Back over the mid lane. Damage coming in on the Evoker. He is going to go for the EMP Tornado. Dragon Knight will not get hit, but he's still in a terrible position. Soul Catchered, open wounds, right clicks are there, and that is going to be the kill. Turn it around on Invoker, though, and that is going to be an experience spread between Visage and DK. Now charging in, Lubby with that big Shikuchi, but doesn't have the nighttime vision to actually connect onto the Visage. They retreat from here, and the charge comes forth from top lane. Cow Vision coming in. Space Cow charging away, bashes, get out of my way, one down, going for the second one, he connects, Shikuchi expiring, and this should be a kill. With that ultimate, it certainly will. Lubby trying to Shikuchi away, he might actually, yes, they're distracted, they're changing targets. Now Shadow Demon is going to drop down very quickly, but everybody else taking a lot of hits from the damage over time effects. They killed out the Visage. Miracle, however, will trade with his life. And the sole survivor of that skirmish was Lubby, Shikuchiing out. Now, Hannah on the front line. His target gets tornadoed, though, and he might not be able to bring him down. No, the Dragon Tail comes, and Hannah will fall. Too much damage to deal with right here. Rubik having to retreat, head back home and heal. And in the meantime, Mitter feed the Invoker. Connects with the Cold Snap. Connects a free kill. Snatches and MiTH on the Ogre, and will hold the position from here. Actually, I honestly don't think that MiTH-Trust had to let that happen. I think they could have tried to turn around on the Invoker, as long as they had some detection, but with Visage only just respawning, it looks like they didn't have any available. So they take the tower instead, tier 1 available, taken down from MiTH-Trust. That's a nice gold boon for them, but as we see, they're going to have to keep that lead 4,000 gold advantage for now. May not remain the case with all these Midases. In the meantime, the Lincoln Sphere is finished. 15.5 minutes. I underestimated Lekels. This is just farm city for him. So much gold. I remember watching my first competitive Dota 2 match that had a Lincoln Sphere pickup. All the commentators were impressed about was the fact that it was a 15-minute pickup of Lincoln Sphere, and that just burned into my mind that 15 minutes is insanely good given the context of a competitive match where you're taking a lot of pressure. I'll get to that thought in a moment. Right now we get the Nether Strike onto Hannah, taking a lot of hits here. Looks for the Infest. He gets it, but will it be enough to get him out of here? No, the Stone Form. Number 1, number 2. But he is under his tower with Rubik here to aid him, and it looks like that's going to be enough to force MiTH-Trust to fall back, at least for the moment. Now coming in with Dragon Form, doing some damage over time. That Corrosive Breath, but the EMP forces them back once more. And they're just buying more time for Miracle to farm, Miracle to push out bottom lane, and every single opportunity to push them back is time gained for them, for their Midases to tick down, and for, in general, them to even the odds. But finishing the thought I had before, 15 minutes burned into my memory for Lincoln Sphere timing. Now I look at this Lekels Weaver, and he just raises the bar 3 times over. A hand of Midas and a Lincoln Sphere, as well as, of course, his boots and Basilius, which is his bread and butter. He has Midas and Lincolns at 15 minutes, or just beyond it. That, in my mind, is ridiculous. This guy, 9,000 net worth, 113 CS, 2 kills, 1 assist to his name. This guy is going to be a menace on the battlefield. So much so, coming in the stuns, but a nice tornado! Huge EMP from Invoker Hannah! Will he get out? He doesn't have armlet, but he mans up with open wounds anyways. He will fall, but he claims 2. Claims 3 with the Visage's demise, and now Ryga trying to run, trying to hide, but there's no hope for him here. He will be dropped down for a 4-for-1 trade. All on the back of the most amazing tornado EMP combo I have seen in months. My goodness, this Invoker playing it up. Old school, but new meta. It's really, really working for him here. That was such a perfectly timed tornado. No BKBs available because they went Shadow Blade and because it is only 17 minutes in. And with that, they interrupt the initiation of a charging Spirit Breaker, of a Dragon Tailing DK. All of it just torn apart in an instant with that one atmospheric condition. Really, really nicely done. Charge coming in from the Spirit Breaker onto the Invoker. This game has some action. Now going for Disruption Tornado and EMP. One way or another, his mana is burned and the Moo Cow is out of steam. No, Magic Wand brings him back up to snuff. Might go for another strike here, but double stuns coming out onto DK. He will fall back. SD going deep, but it's only Lekels in the front line here. They have a Sentry Ward that he does have his ultimate, but doesn't have that much more mana at his disposal. Either way, they got what they were looking for. They got the tier 1, they forced them back, and now they're diving pretty deep on top of the Invoker, trying to force him out. There's TNK with the charge, interrupted by Tornado. Cold Snap, EMP, under tower, TNK is gonna get dropped down. Mechanism is not enough. Oh, such plays. And such greed from Spirit Breaker. He had to know that his cooldowns are short. If he didn't have one, he had the other. He had a Cold Snap or he had a Tornado. In this case, he had both and now has a Yules. So these charges are going to succeed less and less, and TNK is going to have to open his eyes to that fact.
Dire's top tower has been denied.
Now, top lane, tier 1 finished off by Abba, taking that gold off the table. Hana farming down bottom this entire time. Did not rotate for that team fight, didn't need to. So the end result is him finishing his armlet and 1155 in the bank. He's looking really, really good now as well. So really, if they can handle this Weaver, if they can get something to sort him out, just popping Lincolns with Yules or something along those lines, they'll be in a pretty good spot. But right now, I guess they should stop worrying about the offensive, start worrying about the defensive. We need a TP from Hannah right now. He's going to try to bait them into TP rotation, but it's just too much. Oh, Infest inside the creep, but the creep dies, and so does the Nakes inside. Tornado comes out on 1 EMP onto TNK alone. It is going to be a return kill, but this is just the supportive Moo Cow. This Spirit Breaker is not the core that they were looking for. So the kills will Shikuchi on out of there, and of course the active Timber Chains will allow them all to retreat. Or will they? Lubby almost gets in range for TK, but not so much. Now in mid lane, Miracle. Too much damage. The DD rune is what he did not account for. And Abba with a Shadow Blade Initiate will be able to take him out before the TP works its magic. Wow, this game. I swear, even if I had a GoCaster this time around, they wouldn't get a word in edgewise. There's just too much going on. Double damage and the Medallion of Courage active on Roshan. He's getting battered to ashes. And this is going to be most likely an Aegis successful for Roche. No! Wow, nice EMP. Full mana bar and Invoker, but he does get charged. Barely breaks that beetle off before he takes a couple of swings from the Spirit Breaker. Nevertheless, Roshan dropping 1400 HP on the front line. TNK dropping low, but he's the bait. They need to bide a little bit more time. Lakelz wants this Aegis so bad, and he's gonna get it. Now, jumping into the fray, they have a Sentry Ward down. Lincoln's still up and available, though, so they cannot really retaliate. They can't capitalize on his aggressive position. They certainly can do something to the Timbersaw here, though. Nice Cold Snap, interrupting the chain, and he will drop like a rock. Lakelz on the front line, again, has Aegis, has Lincoln's. They have to pop something on him in order to bring him down, but he just gets to be a menace. In the meantime, SD, oh, the double stuns. Double Stone Form Familiar, hitting 2 heroes and keeping people alive, but in the meantime, the Aegis is exhausted as Weaver. Lakelz gets a little too big for his britches and is going to have to watch himself here. He's actually going man mode. There's TNK alongside him. I can see why. A triple charge once more, but the turnaround with the rage, with the armlet, you can't get the ultimate off with that Cold Snap. Dropping down low. Invoker just barely getting out. Huge Poison Nova, tons of damage, and they clean everyone up here. They lose the Shadow Demon, but they might get a 4th here. Abba dropping low, looking for one more spell from the Invoker. The Cold Snap is there. Oh, he uses himself. Either way, the kill is successful, and they make things work. Actually, I think that might have been a bit of a bait from the Invoker. What he did there was he walked into Flame Breath range, which would have been fatal, and then Yules himself. Sunstrike comes out. Haven't seen much of that, but it looks like it's not going to be on the mark. Either way, plays everywhere, and First Departure is making this a hell of a match to cast. This is just crazy ridiculous right now. Time TNK, not charging, just biding his time to look for the proper initiation this time around. But I gotta tell you guys, First Departure have made some huge waves in the last 4 minutes. Killing off the Weaver with his Aegis, I gotta say that was a mistake by Lakelz. The rest of it, great play by First Departure. Once he came back up, MiTH-Trust tried to make something happen. They got some good charges, but they couldn't gain any ground in this position in general. When that fight ensued, it was just chaos, and they weren't really built for it. They now have a mechanism. They actually probably have had that for a little bit here, but it hasn't been enough for them to actually survive the storm, and quite a storm it is with this Invoker quas-wexing all over the place. I mean, that Cold Snap on the Spirit Breaker, now Nether Strike being interrupted, he cannot possibly charge. Or, sorry, he can't charge either, but he can't get the Nether Strike off, and that is a huge deal here. Right clicks on the tower, fortified. They're going to try to get the deny. Might actually succeed. Come on, Miracle Plague Ward. Let's see it. Right clicks are there. Deny comes to Visage, though. In the end. Tornado connects onto 2. They get the Soul Catcher. They get the Cold Snap. That's going to be the death of the Timbersaw. Mechanism not going to save you here, buddy. I got to tell you guys, I'm usually a fan of MiTH-Trust, but the way First Departure are playing. Wow. Damage coming in on SD. Not a good time to use your Medallion of Courage. Takes too many right clicks. I actually think if he didn't meddle, he would have at least forced them to dive the tier 3. But using it to reduce his own armor by 5 or 6, by 6 there, yeah. That's not going to work for you. Alacrity on the Lifestealer. He already has 179 damage with that Alacrity up. And that's just with 3 points in Exhort. Man, this is getting just too hot to handle. Lakelz TP's back. He did some pushing on the top lane, but they need to defend this tier 3. They can't afford to lose it here. Quick glance at the gold graph. Evening out with a little bit towards the Radiant, and the experience graph very favorable towards them. But here comes the charge. Disrupted. EMP comes out, but it's not enough to save Rubik. Looking for more. They get the ultimate off on the Spirit Breaker, but Shadow Demon falls as well, and MiTH-Trust are just obliterating the supports, targeting the low HP heroes. They're actually just breaking apart First Departure's lineup, but Hannah's on the front line swinging away. Lakel's pops the time lapse. They get the stun. They bring Hannah down, looking for one more, but he might be too quick on his feet. Uses the Ghost Walk. Do they have the detection? It looks like they're not going to bother. They have one Sentry Ward, but they can't. They have not gotten his aura. That's the big thing. It just got hit by SD. SD knows he's in range. Why don't they Sentry? Why don't they Dust? I honestly don't have an answer for that. Like, they could have brought down Invoker, a level 15 kill. But despite seeing the aura, the Visage heads home and heads for the shop. Either way, a great coup for MiTH-Trust. Taking 4, losing nothing. They just broke apart the lineups. They killed Rubik when he was by himself. They found Shadow Demon in their retreat, and then they cleaned up 2 more when they tried to fight a situation they just weren't prepared for. So, oh, that's interesting. Ghost Walk on top of him. He breaks the Lincolns, but not much more to say about that. But yeah, now we see a completely different game before us with the amount of golden experience that have been obtained. This is First Departure winning all these fights with 3 Midases. Yes, Timbersaw has Midas, so it counts it 3 for 2, but the Midas advantage is still there, and now that we're seeing that translate into much, much more in terms of farm. TNK will connect with his stuns. Will it be enough to bring him down this time? Invoker has been a very, very slippery individual. Now a double Gale comes out. Spearger going for the charge, but will be used up in the air instead. And that should be just 1 free kill. And a charge too far. I don't even think that was even remotely wise to engage on that. But right now, MiTH-Trust are just trying to find a foothold, trying to find something. But this kind of vision that we're seeing here is not going to cut it. Now a quick tornado coming off cooldown in 3 seconds, making sure they don't see him here. Now they will block off his retreat a little bit. Gets him in range for Yules. There's going to be the ice wall, and there's no way Visage gets out. So, timing, coordination, it's working well for First Departure for the moment. Do see the Roche up in a minimum of 1.5 minutes. But meanwhile, Lakel's with that Dezo. Lincoln's Weaver, you can't count him out of this game because he can just split push so darn well. They have to commit, generally speaking, 2 heroes just to repel him, unless they commit the Invoker himself, who, in my opinion, is the most important hero in this game right now. Because of that Aghanims. I was getting to that, but Aghanim's Veil picked up for Miracle. Huge damage output. We're talking 81 damage per second, over 15 seconds, amplified by 25%. It's just insane. Now TNK goes in, but Lubby getting obliterated. Only has 4 armor, but it's enough to get disrupted to survive. He gets out, and unfortunately, 2 enter. Spiritbreaker does not leave. He falls for feels like the billionth time, but it's 9 deaths. TNK. I've been a fan of his Lich play, but and we see possibly another. We didn't see Cold Snap, but we do see a Sunstrike. Oh, big deeps. But yeah. Wow. Okay, so as I was saying, yeah, I mean, I've seen his TNK's Lich, I've seen a couple of his other supportive pickups, and they've generally done pretty good, but when it comes down to the Spiritbreaker, he's almost a meme. He's so overzealous. Now Rage comes out, he tries to go for the Dragon Tail, doesn't get it, and it gets lifted instead. He won't get a single ability off, barely getting the stun on Miracle, which means that Lakel's will clean him up, but the retreat is pretty easy at hand. Maybe not for Lubby. Gets hit by the Soul Assumption. Gonna TP underneath the cover of the trees. Darn you, Timbersaw. Why didn't you cut down the forest? But yeah, 2, 9, and 8. Not where you need your main initiator to be in right now. Not the right state. And along with that, the Shadowblade initiations haven't really been on point. I'm not sure if it's just really active sentries by Lubby, or the fact that they always seem to know he's there and interrupt him with a tornado or a rage and things like that. Whatever the case, right now their initiations aren't working for them, and they need to change the pace of it a little bit here. And I think the best way to do that is map vision and smokes. If they can get just a little bit more active wards. I mean, they are out of stock, but they do still have some on the Visage. 3, in fact. If they could just get those wards down in good positions to lead the charge at the right time on targets that won't interrupt it, they actually could be finding some picks. As we see, they're not that far down on kills. But things are looking more and more bleak as the gold is now finally starting to make its mark. We see that 23 minute, that's when the Midases really kick in. And on top of that, they of course have been leading on experience for quite some time. Now we see the charge coming out. How many spells will he waste? Oh, going with the Ghost Walk. If they have detection, that's not a good strategy, but fortunately for him, the one guy that should be carrying dust the most is actually not in this case. Wow, I'm going to go horse from just how much action has been happening the past 10 minutes. This is a ridiculous game. Now popping that Lincoln Sphere, using every ability in the book. He's out half mana, has to use his time lapse to get it back. But now they turn it around with a big Dragon Tail right on top of Invoker, and Lubby should probably be heading out of here, but it looks like they want to turn around. No TK available. Cooldown reduction. Weaver will Midison just skedaddle on out of there. Buyback did come out from the Invoker, but that's a pretty huge cost for him. 1,000 gold cost. He is going to be increasing his death timer next time around, but he wants to be on the battlefield right now. Not sure why. I'm not exactly sure about their haste. I kind of feel like they could play this slow and still be perfectly fine, but they have the pressure now. They're not going to let up. Relentless. TNK goes right on Invoker. A double bash comes out, but he can't get his ultimate off. Defensive disruption, but Kai's going to eat all the damage of the world. Lakel's BKB chewing through Invoker. He dies again. 86 seconds in the grave, and now Miracle. He popped everything he could, but it's not enough. They're losing everybody. Lifestealer falls. As soon as the Rage expired, he's fresh meat for them. Actually, maybe not so fresh, a little rotten, but one way or another, he is cleaned up. And the only casualty is the Timbersaw, who they're happy to lose because he used the mechanism, 250 HP AoE. He dies and the Bloodstone charges activate, and that's at least 600 health. So he just healed his team for, I would say close to, I'm trying to do the math, but 900 plus HP if they needed it. And if they didn't, then that's what allowed them to be cleaning things up and not really at risk at their HP values. So I really, really think that was very hasty on their part. The Invoker dying twice, having such a huge loss in buyback gold, and now not going to be able to move in towards what I would presume is a Slice of Bite nearly as rapidly. Now opening up another opportunity on Roshan. This could be MiTH-Trust's comeback. I mean, we've seen much bigger comebacks previously, and I mean this gold graph, the experience graph, they're showing that dip. They're showing that opening for MiTH-Trust to break this apart. Aegis not claimed yet. Now in the hands of the Weaver. That's two Roshans in a game that, generally speaking, they haven't had much control of the map. But now they certainly got it. SD is happy to get out and maybe place some wards. Looks like they don't have any on them now. They have placed one in an... I don't know about that one. Obviously, the lane wards are pretty powerful, as we saw in that last engagement, but still, gotta be careful how you use these things, even if they do last 7 minutes now. Items, didn't mention the Abyssal Blade. Lifesteal didn't really get much out of that the last engagement. Tornado not going to hit on anybody. Now the charge comes out. He opened up everything to make this fight happen. The dust. There's the stuns. The BKBs are up and running, and they are ready to obliterate everybody right here. Lakel's does get bashed up a little bit. His Lincoln is not on cooldown, though, so they can't Abyssal. But either way, the only casualty is the Invoker. Now the Venomancer. And it's just because they have so much stayability with these BKBs now. Quick little cleanup from Lakel's, but he is going to pop his Aegis very early in the cycle. Visage dropping down to Fatal HP, and Spiritbreaker to 1 non-fatal. Lakel's... Oh, wow, okay, who was the last one to fall? That was Dragonite, who died to the damage over time effects as well. And that's the power of your rank 3 Aghanim's, that's for sure. Anyways, Lakel's will be able to avoid the combat once again, but did lose the Aegis. I guess it's okay, because he really does want to use that item slot, either for probably just upgrade to BOTs, and then he can go for Butterfly or something like that. But really, the big turnaround here was when those BKBs came out. Lakel's and Abba both got their BKBs at a similar time, and they've needed them for this entire game. When Spiritbreaker gets his and a couple hundred gold, it'll be even better for them. So although they're using them every fight as they need to, and dropping them down to 8 seconds, it's 100% won them the last 2 engagements. Now the last one might not be like a clear-cut victory because of how many kills Venomancer cleaned up, but it's still very, very important to note that without their magic damage, without their disables, DK and Weaver are allowed to be on the front line for the entire duration of the fight, and that's why it looks like MiTH-Trust aren't dropping at all, because there's only 3 people affected by the AoE damage over time effects, and on top of that they have all this healing from the Timber Saw. So, nice comeback so far from MiTH-Trust, but it ain't over till it's over. First departure. Want to make something happen here with this Haste Rune active on Miracle. The Infest inside Lubby. Shikuchiing in to find his prey, but Timber Saw already has a pretty good idea that they are on the hunt. Tornado! He dodges it just barely, but that puts him in range of the telekinesis. Cold Snap, and that's going to be a kill. Now the Alacrity. Huge damage output. Just needs to set it up and make it work. And the best part about this matchup is this is just friggin' game 1. Like, the way these guys are playing, we could go for the full 3 games easily. Like, just so active, so dynamic, just beautiful. I love this. This is my kind of Dota right here. Active, team fights, all over the place. Even if it's a little scrappy, it's Dota at its finest in my mind. Now we see the harder task available on Weaver. Interesting to not go for the Butterfly against all this bash, but most of the damage he's dealing with is magical. It's not like we're seeing a lot of Forge Spirits. It's not like the Lifestealer is getting on top of him every single fight. So, all in all, I do see the Heart as a very viable pickup as well. It's just he has to make sure his next damage and his next pickup is an offensive one, because the Lincolns, BKB, Heart, all very, very defensive pickups. Just one offensive pickup, and he'll be a terror in the fights. Yeah. In my personal opinion, he could have held off on the Heart until after his BKB was 6 or lower. Just gone for the Butterfly for now, because it does have a hybrid of offensive and defensive aspects. But he doesn't want to leave it to chance. Lakel's actually is probably one of the most common harder to harass buyers as far as carry players go. He buys it on anti-mage before most will, and it generally allows him to farm more aggressively. So we'll see if it does anything for these team fights here as he jumps right on into the mix of things here. Already Blue Dragon form up and active, but they Tornado while Hannah's expiring his Rage. He doesn't have any more Rage available. They go for the stun, but he infests, barely avoiding that Dragon Tail, and now Hannah bashed up, defensively disrupted. They're trying to focus this lifesteal so darn hard. Meatball comes in, behold it, and now the damage comes forth. Cold Snap on Ryga can't escape. Lakel's bought back and time-lapse back into the fight, but it could cost him here. Lincoln's use and telekinesis into a Sunstrike. He pops the BKB. Will it be enough? Needs the Abyssal or at least a single right-click to connect. They're trying to go for Tornado. BKB expires. One more disable. They get the Yules. They have the gem. They will be able to finish him off twice over. But, oh wait, okay, I called it wrong. I thought he bobbed back and time-lapsed in. Not sure who that buyback was. It was from the Lifestealer. Hannah bobbed back in, so did miscall something there. But he did fall, and that's the bottom line. Is despite buying the Heart, despite playing as defensive as he could, his time-lapse used, and from there he was easy prey when he didn't have supports. And now they're going for the racks. They pop 2 buybacks. Going in, the fortification does come across. They still have this gem. They still have this scythe. Putting it to work in just a moment, or will they retreat from here? Cutting their, I won't say cutting their losses, but they just completely took that fight away, and they kind of have to take their rewards elsewhere, I believe. But they're not done yet. They want to finish this Melee Racks. They're going to get it here. They get the telekinesis. The bash comes out. Melee Racks barely standing, but they do clean up the Lifestealer. His buyback on cooldown. Now in a very bad spot. They just want to right-click the Racks. They can right-click the Racks, but at what cost? They've lost so much. They're going to lose 2. Possibly 3. TP throw comes out from Kai. He will just barely dodge out from Lakel's, but still losing the Lifestealer. He died twice over now. Did he just Sunstrike? Oh, what a swag strike. Burning down the Visage. He was hit by the non-fatal dot of the Poison Nova and dies in the fountain. Oh my goodness, what a player, this Invoker. Oh, wow. Just to recap this just a little bit, since it's been all over the place. 2 deaths on Nakes. He bought back. Weaver and DK were forced to buy back, but they made great work out of it. Now pushing on the tier 2 mid. They only lost the melee racks, which isn't the end of the world, considering how late game this lineup can go. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The charge comes in, it gets lifted up. Lakelz thinks better of it and will fall back from here.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Such damage. Is Timber going for a pipe next, I would hope, but can't really tell you. And could go for a scythe. I'm not too sure. The way these engagements are broken down, though, it's very, very interesting. Rosh up, and we'll see in a moment. But the way these engagements, Hannah kind of seems to be a little bit overextended every single time. He's not the one with the heart. He just has Armlet and his own rage as defensive tools. So now, it's going to be almost full 3 minutes. It's 2 minutes and about 40 seconds before that Rosh respawns. Anyways, yeah, he kind of just jumps in as if he has all the HP in the world, but 1700 plus that Armlet HP isn't all that much when you're dealing with Desolator Weaver and the DK, who does have some substantial right-click himself. We're also seeing them writing on the map. I didn't actually catch what that was all about, but now we see the smoke gank actively rotating out to try to bring down the Timber or the Spearbreaker. We'll see what they can find. Right now, they get 2 abilities off on Weaver. That's enough to force the BKB. There's the Abyssal, but here's DK on the front line. His BKB of his own, but he gets bashed up. Wants to get his ultimate off. Finally gets his ultimate off. Will it be enough to bring down Hannah? Right here, a lot of right clicks coming in. He infests inside to stay up and jumps out to head for the hills. Meanwhile, Invoker on the front line gets a cold snap off. Oh, it's not a cold snap. It's not enough. They bring down the Lifestealer, trading it for the Timber Saw. Now Lakelz on the front line, burning through Invoker. It's 160 HP, but he gets lifted up. Amazing lift by Lubby, but they lose him. They lose the gem. And now Kaya is rotating up to be dropped down, just trying to buy a few precious seconds of life. Buyback from Rubik. Sunstrike for just because he can. He has plenty of mana. He has the Aghanim Scepter 2-second cooldown on his invokes. But he has got to pull a miracle out here. He has to invoke every spell he possibly can. Goes for the cold snap to start off on DK. Charge him from TNK. Gets lifted up. They're going for the tier 3 hardcore familiars, using every charge they have of damage. Buyback from the Shadow Demon. Jumping in. They're trying to do what they can. I think that was a Venom buyback too. It was. Oh my goodness. Just so much damage. They bring down Spearbreaker once again. Lakelz on the front line, trying to bring down, it looks like Kai. They finish him off quickly and turn over to Miracle. But the BKB isn't used. The time lapse isn't used. They lose the Weaver. He doesn't have buyback. He can't get back in the fight. And without the Weaver, they can't take these racks. They can't take this fight. Oh my goodness. Visage doing what damage he can, but it's not going to be enough to get out of here, I don't believe. Grave Chill versus the slow of the Ghost Walk. He actually gets a Soul Assumption out on the Invoker, but the Quaz regen keeping him up. Now it's Rubik versus Visage 1v1, but he pulls him out of the Sunstrike. Either way, he falls. He actually stole the Familiars. Nice steal from Lubby. Micro in the best he can. Even the Gargoyles that turn against SD in this situation. Soon enough, he will have an Aghanims of his own that Lubby won't be able to copy, but for right now, that steal is quite imba. Either way, what a fight. What a game. I can't believe I'm casting this. Like, this is so freaking amazing, the way these two teams are playing. KDAs, I can't even begin to think about how much work Lakelz has put in to earn that 12, 3, and 15. How many invokes have gone through this battlefield. This is a replay I want to watch 10 times over to watch how each one of these guys have just pulled out some amazing plays. But for right now, the emphasis is here. The Roshan goes to first departure. The Cheese on the Invoker, the Aegis on the Nyx, and now he can play it in that aggressive style that he prefers. He's building AC. He doesn't have buyback money, but he can still jump in. As long as he resurrects with his team at his back, he is confident that they can breach high ground with this. So we'll see how it plays out. I'll go back to the Midas count, because that's the only thing I really know for sure in this game, is that's what first departure is running. Late game stability with 4 friggin' Midases. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. So again, a lot of damage from Venomancer. 108 per second times 1.2x. Reduced by, of course, the base magic regen, but still doing a hell of a lot of damage when you look at it. In the meantime, they do have one Scythe of Ice. They have, of course, their Abyssal. They've been using those very, very actively. And now we're looking over at the dire items. MiTH-Trust has a heart on the Timber Saw. Surprised he didn't go for Pipe, but I guess he's relying on these BKBs to save them, even though they are dropping down pretty low. Lakel's BKB, 6 seconds. Spearbreaker has a pretty high one at 7, but we are looking over at Abba's, and he has only 5. So, yeah, I honestly think that it might have been more prudent to pick up the pipe. 3 half BKBs is not really going to add up to enough to deal with this Veil Poison Nova combo. Anyways, beyond that, we do see Halberd Shadowblade BKB is what Dragonite has been able to afford. Not much standing gold here. Weaver, on the other hand, is still sitting on that heart and is doing pretty well in that regard. Lakel's jumping in, the Geometry Sight, they're bursting, popping everything, but they actually popped a Yule's. Might have been a mistake as Lakel's now gets his BKB off, doing a lot of damage. Alba on the front lines, bursting down on Hannah. He's gone, gonna come up in a few seconds. Lakel's taking a lot of hits. BKB on cooldown, look at the damage he's gonna be taking from the damage over time alone, but Hannah's the one that's taking it a lot more rapidly on the front line. DK falls, Lifesteal is down for the count. Lakel's has that time lapse, is gonna use it. But now he's pretty far out of it with only 1,500 HP. Mechanism brings him back up, but there's the lift. There's the ice wall. SD cannot retreat, and there's a giant meatball doing tons of damage. SD gets one more soul assumption before he most likely drops with the last Forge Spirit summon. Lobby just trying to get out of there, gets dusted up with the Shukuchi. He's on the run. A high ground Timbersaw. Lakel's is going to try to bring down Invoker, and he should succeed. Do they have the detection? Where did that gem go? Is he going to get out? They don't have it. Invoker's gone. TNK retreating from the Forge Spirit and potential Cold Snap. Meanwhile, in mid, range racks fallen, melee racks down. Oh my god, this game. Right now, back to the graphs. Dire sitting at... My brain isn't even like processing what the hell is happening. 3,500 in favor of Dire. Even Steven in experience. Only thing... Oh, and of course there's some aggressive play that I'm missing. Lakel's sheeped up in a bad spot. Oh, gets lifted, and that's going to be his death. As far as buyback, he has it, he uses it, but he won't be able to farm for the next minute and a half. Just here to defend, to make sure the opposition won't be able to push in. And as far as the rest of that engagement, that was Weaver picked up the Shadow Demon, and they turned it around against the Invoker, or against the Weaver there. I don't know. I'm glad I took an injection of caffeine before I jumped on this cast, but it's still just too hot to handle. So a little bit of scouting Sunstrikes. Dire has some good vision. Radiant has some good vision. That Geometry Sight, where did it go? It looks like Rubik has been able to get his mitts on it, and he'll be hanging on to that for as long as he can with the Sheep Stick now available. Cool thing, I gotta say, I gotta hand it to Lubby that he's been starting these fights pretty effectively. It seems like he's always a little bit too far forward, but because he has the detection, whenever he sees Lakel's jump in, as he tends to do, he immediately goes for the Fade Bolt on him to counter out the Lincolns, then lifts him. So he's always been getting that very, very effective 2.25 second disable on Lakel's to start every single fight. Adding in this 3.5 from Sheepstick, and that might be too difficult for Lakel's. That actually might be pretty brutal for him. We'll see, we'll see. Any other items? Just buybacks. Just buyback money is what it's all about right now. Smoking up. Dire have no idea. Up on the front line, they're just going to charge down the mid lane. The Meteor is invoked. The Cold Snap is there. Do they have the setup? Shikuchiing in, the Infest. But they are all running for their lives. The kills. Everybody gets hit. The Lincolns has been popped. Can they get the Abyssal? They do. He's BKB'd, but it won't help him here. Too much damage. He has a time lapse now. Taking too much. TNK bursting down on Hannah. He's taking a lot of hits, but Lubby's taking even more. Shikuchi's away. Huge damage on Hannah. Dropping down, but the Meteor doing some hits as well. Hannah dropping. He will fall. They can't maintain this fight without their carry. Forward Spirits cleaned up the Visage. Cold Snap out onto Timbersaw. He will retreat. Everybody's falling back, but the damage is done. Sunstrike not going to do enough. Actually split between two, but we see it. Only the casters, the Arsenal and Grand Mages are the only ones to retreat from this position. And again, the buybacks. Oh, no, Invoker! What are you doing? Huge loss for them. Huge loss. 1,050 gold from the Wicked 6th Street. Go into Dragonite. The buyback is available but forced at this moment. Rubik just going to have to TP back home, a little bit of push to do this, at least some damage, while they take some major hits on mid.
Radiant's middle tower.
Backdoor protection, keeping the tier 3s up for now. The buyback from Invoker. Looks like it's just going to be a charge. It's a full retreat. They want to get their bearings back. Not even sure what that sound was. I guess a long-range tornado. Not going to snipe him. Actually, what is the movement speed of tornado? That just brought some curiosity to me. Does not say it. I'll have to check out Play Dota or something in the near future. I was just curious if it could even catch a charging Spirit Breaker. I think it can, but it's pretty close. Either way, stacking some Ancients, the most action-packed action you've ever seen in this action game. I don't even know. Like, this is the calm before the storm, though. This is... just gotta take a breather. 1 minute till we get to know the Roshan time. And that, I think, will be a bloodbath. Perhaps the last one of the game. 51 minutes of non-stop actions. Look at these boxes. Look at all the deaths. Not just the graph, which is amazing in of itself in the back and forth, but look at all these kills. 44 to 43. Such an even game. Such an action-packed game. Thank you, Ice Frog, for this meta. Like, this is beautiful. Chiefsick on Miracle's Venomancer. Disables, they have it. The magic damage, they have it in spades. But the biggest weakness right now for First Departure is their physical damage output. This Nyx has been stuck on a net worth value of approximately 16,000 this entire game. And right now, he's completely outclassed by 2 members of MiTH-Trust. Going for the defense. They've been able to hold this position handily before, but a lot of factors have changed. Starting off with a Tornado EMP, we can see a follow-up of the Meteor as well as the Deafening Blast, as long as he cues it up appropriately. But now we see a Scotty Invoker. I was talking about physical damage output. Now Invoker packs a bit of a punch himself, as well as a much-needed slow against these BKB targets in attack speed and movement speed. Farm count real quick, 370 CS, 332 Lakel's and Ryga, 238 for the Invoker, and 211 for Hannah. This is only game 1, guys, and now the tension breaks loose. Oh goodness, 2 creep waves clashing, heroes behind it. That's what this game's about, but it's about to get a lot more complicated. Tornado goes across, dodged by everyone on MiTH-Trust. Oh, this is so tense. Any move could be the last. There's so many sheeps on the board. If you make a mistake, there's a good possibility you won't be able to recover from it. Buyback tally. We have 1 for Ryga, 1 for both the Dragonite and Hannah's Lifestealer. Good position for them to be in, but what's going on here? Ah, nice move. MiTH-Trust expects somebody to TP defend. They expect them, they're going to give away a free tier 2, and they know one person of First Departure will defend, and that person's going to get completely obliterated right here. Hannah, Alacrity expiring, is about to get dunked on. MiTH-Trust. Come on, guys. Perfect positioning, but they might get dispelled. Shadow Demon about to come out. They pop the blue dragon form. Are they scouted? I don't think so. It's nighttime. Here comes the initiation. Hannah obliterated, and they even get some BOTs in. All 5 are here, ready to rumble at the racks. The creep wave has negated the backdoor protection. Fortification is forced. Here comes the Life Sealer. Bought back into it. And that's a buyback they're happy to walk away with. Such cheeky play from MiTH-Trust. I love that smoke. Trade a tier 2 for your carries buyback any day at this 54-minute game. But here comes the initiation. Lincoln's popped for Lakel's. Not seeing it take much. Oh, the Stone Form! Triple Stone Form charge comes out. Tons of damage. Shadow Demon falls. Hannah incinerated. Miracle. Ghost Scepter's up, trying to survive, but no hope for him whatsoever. He's dropped his payload, and he is now down in the grave. Lubby being pursued, using the Shikuchi that has saved his life so many times in this game. But is this it? Is this the end? Has MiTH-Trust really made this happen? EMP Tornado dropping down the racks. Melee have fallen. Range to go with it. Can rotate mid in a moment, but Lubby is the buffer, trying to make this happen. Cold Snap, Scotty. Right clicks are there, but the Forge Spirits are trailing behind because of the familiar stuns. Lakel's on the front line. Shikuchi on Shikuchi action. Abba on retreat. Now rotating to mid. A charge comes out. They're actually defending their tier 4s. Don't want that to drop, but they might not have a choice. The sheep comes out on Lakel's. The right clicks are there, but mid or feed is in a bad spot right here. Invoker throws out the tornado. Connects onto 2. EMP will come out. Timbersaw loses a little, but look at that mana pool. Pops the mechanism, and everybody's okay, but Dragon Knight gets sheeped, gets right-click down, and they hold the tier 3 mid coming in. Shadow Demon looking for a purge, but falls on Lincoln's ears. TNK kind of cornered. Is he stuck in the trees? Did he charge in the trees? No, TNK gets scouted out, and he will fall, but maybe trades his life for Invoker as they get the Nether Strike. Jukes to the east, he has an urn, but the Shadow Poison ticks away. TNK with 10 HP. Lakel's on the front line, BKB. Oh, taking so much. They're dropping so low, but they're still alive. They get earned. One falls to the Shadow Poison. He gave his life. He sacrificed himself for Lakel's, trading a earn charge despite having the Shadow Poison on him. And now Lakel's pops the time lapse. Shikuchi's away, but they have the gem. Any spells left. Any spells at all, but they turn it around with a Desolator right click. The familiar's there. The gem will be claimed by MiTH-Trust. Only 900 gold. Maybe not worth it, but or not of consequence. But still, taking them that Rubik certainly is. Oh my god, this game. 5,000 plus gold advantage. Experience of only 4K in the midst of things. Buyback from the Rubik. Front line, Blue Dragon, angry. Going to strike down in these towers, completely obliterate them. The charge connects onto Lubby. This will be the death of the Invoker with no buyback, just having used it. He is down for 114. There's no coming back for him. It's on his team. But Hannah can't do much himself. He gets the rage. He gets the armlet. He gets the right clicks, but he can only bring down Spirit Breaker. Now Abyssal onto DK. Doing work. Miracle gets the Poison Nova on everyone here. Tons of damage, but is it enough? Lakel's back to full. Gets sheeped up. Abba shifts to the racks. They are bursting them with the familiars, and I think they will get them here. Oh, will they Lakel's turns it around to the Shadow Demon. Dropping down on the Invoker, but they don't still have that gem on site. So Invoker, Ghost Walks, Tornadoes, gets that EMP, looks for the Cold Snap to follow, but the Lincolns is back up. And results. Oh shoot, I'm so excited my microphone's falling off my desk. Right now the racks have fallen for the Radiant. Departure are down to 2 racks on top lane. That's keeping them in this game. Meanwhile, they have taken the tier 4 in mid, but at heavy losses. Buyback, the Rubik coming back in 50 full seconds. Buybacks are costly. Buybacks are so costly here. Just trying to clear out the creep wave. He is getting a little bit of farm for this as the penalty has expired. But where do they go from here? The Roche is in the hands of MiTH-Trust. Dire advantage, what have you. They know it's up. It just respawned. And Cheese and Aegis in his belly. The big tragedy for Verse Departure is how low their carry has fallen. The fact that Hannah has only been able to fight every time he respawns, he's going back into the mix of things. He's fallen behind so hard. I don't think this MiTH has even been used in the past 8 minutes. He goes in the fight, he does what he can, he contributes, but he dies. He dies, and as a result, he's only banked 1,800 gold and is still sitting on sub 16k, just barely cutting it. Ouch. I mean, if the Nakes had like a full other item, if he had one more luxury item, this game would have been completely different, but he didn't get to that stage fast enough. And now we're seeing the last-ditch maneuvers of Raiga. Is this a courier dragon? Is that what's going on? It doesn't have a energy booster, but yeah, I don't even know if you can do this in this game. It was hilarious in Han for the Codex, but I haven't seen it. But when you get to the 59-minute mark, anything's possible. Building up that Dagon, but has to watch his own hero. Can't just keep chopping, buddy. This will cost you your life. His buyback is... Oh my god, guys. Raiga just spent his buyback money on those Dagons. Like, he has buyback off cooldown, but he spent the cash. I guess because Bloodstone. Okay, because he has 17 Bloodstone charges. But that's still not enough. that still he's missing some time. And actually, Lakel is getting bursted down, loses the Lincolns, gets stunned up, throws out the Swarm, but is not sending in any right clicks. It's T&K on the front line. Nice self-yules, but Shadow Demon falls in his wake. And now Invoker dropping very low. The Meteor hits on nothing, deafening, wasted. Gets some disarm, but that's about it. Mitter feed, falling back as fast as his little legs can take him, but Ryga's in pursuit. Chakram just shy. Too fast for you. 506 MS with phase. He is out of there. But Shadow Demon did fall. A 1-for-0 engagement at this stage could cost them the game. Backdoor protection's down. The creeps are pushed in far enough, and a flanked again coming in with a stun onto Hannah. Hannah gets caught out. Too much damage, too much disable, and that is it, guys. You can't come back from this. The towers are falling. They'll try their best. But we'll see. I guess Spirit Breaker's out of the mix of things. Maybe I spoke too soon. We'll see. Right now, a lot of damage coming in from Lobby. That DD is not going to do much work for him. Abba battering down on the tier 4 towers. One down. Hannah on the front. Pops off the open wounds. Goes for Ryga. No trees to tether to. Now we see Lakel's getting bursted hard. Great deafening. The Sheep. The Abyssal. But the Mechanism, the BKB, and the time lapse keeps him up. And he's still in the mix of things, about to burn down Invoker. The Ghost Walk keeps him up, but Hannah falls. And now, everybody's gone. Invoker's the only one that remains, and as try as he might, invoke as he might, this is GG in favor of MiTH-Trust. 61 minutes in. Shadow Demon comes back. Invoker sends himself up. But it's all she wrote. It's it. Punch the ticket, because MiTH-Trust have taken one of the best games I've had the honor of casting. I'm going to check the graphs real quick before they expire. You can pause that in the VOD or whatever, but that game, it speaks for itself. Hashtag what Dota is about. Like, that is such a freaking game. I'm sorry if I was just like screaming in your ears for the past couple minutes, but damn, this just impressed the hell out of me. Every single player. I mean, some of them were being a little overzealous and throwing away their lives too often early. T&K, a very big proponent of that, but as a whole, the teams, the coordination, the timing, the fights, the battles, genius. This was an amazing game of Dota, and like I said, it's been my privilege to cast this for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Best game 2013, next to that of TI3. And on an online SteelSeries SEA Cup tournament. Well, there you go. Who would have thought it? But anyways, first departure versus MiTH-Trust. You go into game 2 as soon as the teams recover from whatever the heck they have just experienced. Wow. Good game, well played. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll go into game 2 in just a minute. Shout out to Dota Talk and the SteelSeries SEA Cup, just the whole organization of that, administration of that, and setup of this amazing game. Shout out to the Southeastern Asian team for that. Southeastern Asian scene for being entertaining as hell. And shout out to you viewers for enjoying it with me. Anyways, can't wait to upload this VOD to my YouTube channel, because that'll be awesome. But you can check that out at youtube.com/blazecasting. That'll be up in a couple hours after the best of 3 ends. And you can also check me out on twitter.com/blazecasting if you enjoyed the broadcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Going into game 2 of this best of 3 series as soon as possible.